Welcome to Bullet Points. This time we're checking out Moonlighter. Tons of RPGs allow us to enter dungeons and kill with reckless abandon and suck up the spoils like a vacuum from their corpses. Usually, we return covered in the blood of our enemies and throw the treasures on the table at a shop and sell everything in bulk. In Moonlighter, you play both the roles of shopkeeper and dungeon diver. Will is a young guy who has always had the aspirations of taking on the denizens of the dungeons. His parents decided they would rather have him take over the shop and dissuaded him from living his dreams. When he reached adulthood, he decided that he could run the shop in the daytime and take on the perilous dungeons at night. What we liked. Managing a shop is a great side minigame. It's very similar to something you would see in a mobile title. Will puts his items out to gauge the price, and then customers approach the wares and inform us with emotes if the price is right. It can get a bit hectic as the shop gets larger and more customers fill the area. Thieves will even enter the shop, grab items, and try to abscond to the exit. You can also complete fetch quests for civilians and bring them specific items or defeat a certain number of enemies for cash. The dungeons are the meat of the title. Each of these locales varies in look and have semi-roguelike patterns to keep the areas from becoming a dull, repetitive slog. The same goes for the variety of enemies with various weaknesses and differentiating attack patterns, from dice cubes that shoot lava from their sides to the grenade-chucking goblins with evil in their eyes. The diversity of enemies is probably the most stimulating slice of the pie. Moonlighter propels us into highly addictive isometric combat that reminds us of Zelda titles from yesteryear with a touch more flexibility in combat. The weapons are uniquely different. I never thought that one weapon was more powerful than the others, and each provided a distinct purpose. The visuals are fantastic with some well done animations for the sprites. Observing Will enter and exit a dungeon through an undulating blob is always a treat. Do not like. Quests are not fleshed out enough compared to the rest of the game. Doing fetch quests or diving into holes to fight portal monsters is fun at first, but you soon realize that's about all there is outside of the dungeon traversal and shopkeeping mechanics. It's a good effort, but it ultimately feels like busy work. To me, the directional pad responsiveness is not as accurate as the analog controls. I found myself aiming in different directions as opposed to where I was actually pushing the buttons. Boss fights are a bit on the easy side. The patterns are quick to learn and don't have much variation to them. Once you learn the simple patterns of the boss fights, you can take them out even without the proper gear. In the build that I'm currently playing, there are a lot of strange bugs, like not being able to choose a place to sell items or outright loss of character controls. Oh, and sometimes it crashes when you're finishing a dungeon run, which results in losing precious time and items since the game doesn't autosave until you leave. There's also the worst bug in the game, and it happens a lot, especially after you get the third shop. So I found myself unable to close my shop at the end of the day, and my character would just have to stand there until I close the game. This means that you have to sell all those items again in the day and hope that the bug doesn't happen. Now, the only way I was able to bypass this was going to bed and going to bed again, and then the next day would start and I would be able to sell my items again. Now, sometimes this bug would follow you into dungeons, but luckily you can teleport out of dungeons, but it's still a pain in the butt because you can't finish your run. Moonlighter is an absolute blast to play. It isn't the hardest game to play in the world, but it's a charming throwback to the SNES Zelda era. What it lacks in the puzzles of Zelda, it makes up for with a robust combat system and highly detailed character animations. This would be a hard one to pass up if you're at all interested in isometric RPGs. It might even be worth it if you're not. Now, the only reason I say you probably shouldn't buy this is because in the current build that I'm playing, which is not the finished build, there are just too many non-progression bugs where you can't sell your items in the shop or you get stuck in a dungeon. Hopefully they fix that before the game comes out. But once again, that's up to you. I'm just giving you the warning. It's not my money. You can do whatever you want in your life, and I'm out. Peace.